Warm welcome. You're watching News Today. I'm Preeti Choudhry. Our top focus is going to be on the landmark judgment by the 7-member constitutional bench of the Supreme Court. We're going to get down to it. But first up, allow me to take you through the headlines. Wayanad landslides death toll crosses 280. State government says all those alive are rescued. 29 children still missing. Chief Minister Vijayan, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra meet survivors. Capital chaos after heavy rainfall hit National Capital Region on Wednesday late night. A mother and a child drowned in a waterlogged drain in Ghazipur. Is the UP BJP unit split wide open? Land bill brings differences between Chief Minister Yogi and his Deputy Chief Minister Maurya to the fore. Bill passed by UP Assembly stalled and sent to Standing Committee. And our top focus at 9 p.m. Landmark verdict on the SC/ST quota. Supreme Court upholds quota within quota for marginalised amongst SCs and STs. Says states are now empowered to make subclassification for granting quotas. Well, this can be read as an India Today impact. Delhi court rejects Pooja Khedkar's anticipatory bail. Says it must be probed if the IS fraud had any insider help. Pooja now faces arrest for cheating and forgery. NEET probe widens. CBI files its first charge sheet in the paper leak case. 13 accused named in charge sheet, 40 accused arrested so far. There's been a setback to the Muslim side in the Krishna Janambhoomi case. Muslim side's plea challenging maintainability rejected. Next hearing on the 12th of August. Indian shooter shine in Paris Olympics. Third medal for India after Swapnil Kusale bags bronze in 50-meter rifle event. And a massive Olympic controversy now brews after female Italian boxer refuses to fight biologically male Algerian. The controversial Algerian boxer had failed a gender test last year. All right, are we seeing the first manifestation of what has been speculated so far, that the UP BJP unit is split wide open? Yogi versus Maurya tussle has escalated. The Nazul land bill becomes the big flashpoint here. The bill passed in Assembly, stalled in Legislative Council, and stalled by none else but the BJP president. KP Maurya presented the bill and the UP BJP chief had opposed it. The UP land bill sent to now a select panel. Sources suggest Chief Minister in favour of bill review, while his deputy KP Maurya wanted it pushed through. Abhishek Mishra joining us live with the latest. Abhishek, a lot has been speculated on what's going on within the BJP unit of Uttar Pradesh, but what's really happened? It seemed you had the deputy moot a bill, and then you had the state president override it. Bill now sent to a select committee. Give us details.
Well, certainly, Preeti, and this is something where, there are two different observations, I would say, is happening. Yesterday only this bill was passed at the Vidhan Sabha with Suresh Khanna, the finance minister, taking the confidence of everyone. He also agreed to the suggestion made by Siddharth Nath Singh. There were also some opposition opposed to it by the opposition leaders, but they made clear that they will give extension to the lease. They made some provisions which was required and got passed. But what happened next is a lot of MLAs have complained about this impact on the ground. One, also the kind of feedback they were getting, and this is all is said to be in the knowledge of Chief Minister. Now, it has been said that as per a part of a strategy, today when it came at the Legislative Council, the state chief himself, Bhupen Choudhary, opposed it and said that it has to be sent to a select committee. Now, what is contradictory that KP Maurya himself presented it, and if there was some objections, why it was not discussed earlier, and there are still apprehensions over it. Within a day, this development has happened. So clearly it signifies that whether or not the MLAs were not taken into confidence, whether there were different opinions about it, and Chief Minister, which has been said that now it is as per his confidence and knowledge that this has happened, is still a question that needs to be answered. But yes, the bill is now got stuck in the Legislative Council. It will now be sent to a select committee, and as of now, it is unapproved and
all right,
stuck
Abhishek Mishra, but it's not really so much about the bill, but what's really gone down on the floor of the State Assembly where Uttar Pradesh is concerned. One would have thought there would have been a flawed strategy. It's the BJP. Usually, this is the BJP which comes together up against the opposition. It seemed the BJP, one part which is headed by the Chief Minister, formulating, strategizing against the other half, which is of course where the Deputy CM is concerned, and what was speculated days on now seemingly manifesting where the UP Assembly workings are concerned. We're going to keep a close eye on all developments there, but let's quickly shift focus on what was today indeed a landmark judgment by the top court of the country, and how will it legally impact especially the quota system and reservation policy. We'll know in days to come. But the Supreme Court today, like I mentioned earlier, made a landmark decision, ruling that states can now implement sub-quota systems within scheduled caste and scheduled tribe reservation. Practically, that the states can now have quotas within quotas. The ruling has now also ignited a new debate after 4 judges called, and this is important, for exclusion of creamy layer from the quota.
The Supreme Court, in a landmark judgment on Thursday, ruled that the states have the power to give quota within quota among scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. In a 6-1 majority verdict, Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Justices B.R. Gavai, Vikram Nath, Pankaj Mittal, Manoj Misra and Satish Chandra Sharma ruled in favour of sub-quotas. Justice Bela Trivedi gave the dissenting verdict. In the majority verdict, the court said the quota within quota is not against equality. It ruled that scheduled castes are not a homogeneous group, and states are permitted in the constitution to create a subclass. But quota within quota has to be based on empirical and quantifiable data. States cannot act on whims to create quota within quota, the court said. The apex court added that action of the states will be subject to judicial review. Justice Bela Trivedi, in a dissenting verdict, said the precedential list of scheduled castes notified under Article 341 cannot be tweaked by the states. She said that only Parliament can make changes in the list. Any preferential treatment for a subclass will deprive other scheduled castes of the benefits. The verdict will trigger debate on another hot topic. Is there a need for creamy layer within SC/ST? 4 judges, Justice Gavai, Vikram Nath, Pankaj Mittal and Satish Chandra Sharma, call for exclusion of creamy layers among the SCs and STs. Justice Gavai said that the basis for identifying creamy layer among SCs could be different from that of the OBCs. The creamy layer rule at present applies only to OBC quota. The Supreme Court judgment on Thursday strikes down an earlier verdict from 2005 in the E.V. Chinnaya versus Andhra Pradesh case that disallowed subclassification. The 7-judge bench verdict has upheld a Punjab law that gave 50% quota within Supreme Court reservation to Balmikis and Mazhabi Sikhs.
While agreeing with the majority view, Justice Pankaj Mittal said that reservation should be limited to only one generation in a family. And if any generation has taken advantage of the quota benefits, reservation ought not to be made available to the next generation. From camera person Ashwini Helen from New Delhi, this is Kanu Sarda for India Today.
Will it make us look at reservation policy in the country? Let's take it to our panelists this evening. I have with me Shadan Farasat, Advocate Supreme Court, Kancha Ilaya, writer and activist for Dalit rights, Rahul Ishwar, Hindu activist. I want to cut across to Shadan Farasat first. Shadan Farasat, many are calling it very progressive, quota within quota. Interesting also to note what the 4 judges said when they spoke of excluding the creamy layer. What legal implications do you make that this judgment would have?
I think the primary legal implication of this judgment will be that states will now, that the determination of scheduled caste, scheduled tribes was and still is exclusively with the central government. But within the scheduled caste groups and scheduled caste tribe groups, states will have the liberty now to give a certain amount of quota specifically for groups within those groups which have not benefited from reservation. So effectively, it's really taking the reservation logic forward that you have to benefit the weakest amongst even those groups. Up till now, the earlier judgment, which was overruled today by majority, said that scheduled caste is a monolith. Once the president, on the aid and advice of the central government, notifies it, states don't have any liberty to sort of tinker with it in any manner and change or create subquotas. That changes today. And therefore, states will, my assessment is that states where there are large scheduled caste and scheduled tribe populations are likely to carry out certain fact-finding exercises to determine which are the castes which within the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes which haven't benefited as much from the reservation, and then possibly give some kind of preferential quotas for them within the existing quotas for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. There are already 2 or 3 states which had done that, Punjab, Andhra Pradesh, etc. Those legislations actually have not been tested. Yes. Yeah, those legislations, because this is a 7-judge bench, this was just testing the earlier judgment of the court of 5 judges, and they said that judgment was incorrect. Now, based on the new finding of law as per the 7 judges, those legislations of the 2 or 3 states, Punjab included, will be tested by the Supreme Court in due course of time. But I think the bigger picture really is now it's open to the states, and I do see a whole bunch of states carrying out that exercise and going ahead with it. The second implication of this judgment is creamy layer within scheduled caste. Now, that is a slightly different concept. But there was already a judgment of Supreme Court called Jarnail Singh, about 4 or 5 years old, where it was held that even in the context of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, you can have creamy layer. There are 2 views on it, whether you should have scheduled in scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, should you have creamy layer or not. My personal view, if you were to ask me, I don't think it's required, to be honest. But that's debatable. I mean, and the court has taken a view. Now, this is the second judgment in which the majority of the court has said that, listen, even in scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, you should have creamy layer. And I think going forward, that possibly is going to be the position. The challenge, however, will be, will states actually notify scheduled caste creamy layer? Because even after the earlier judgment in Jarnail Singh, states were reluctant. And I doubt very much that even now states will do it, because I think it doesn't suit them. And that also is understandable at some level as far as I see it. So, I mean, I think it's a major rejig of the quota system, and as simply said, quotas within quotas are now something which is permitted.
But, you know, Shadan Farasat, what's really interesting in all of this is, on what you touched on the second part of your submission, is when 4 judges spoke of excluding the creamy layer. Now, that walks the thin line between social justice and economic justice, and also highly controversial and very, very debatable.
Yes, it is. It is a little more controversial than the issue of quota within quotas, for the reason that if we look around us, even today, you will not find many scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, even from the relatively better off groups within them, in either jobs of public sector or private sector. So even if there are some who are financially better off but are there, they play a representational role for those scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So that's why my personal view has always been that time has not yet come for having a creamy layer within scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, because even the better off groups within them are still not sufficiently represented. That's why I think the majority, one of the judgments of the Chief Justice is silent on this aspect. The Chief Justice's judgment does not pronounce on the creamy layer, but like you said, 4 judges have come out in support. And in fact, as far as the law is concerned, the law was clear 4 years back that creamy layer in scheduled caste and scheduled tribes is permitted. States have still not implemented it, and my personal instinct is I don't think the states will implement that even going forward, even after this judgment.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, it opens up a completely different debate, and which has been hotly contended, especially in our country, where it comes down to social justice, economic justice. But Kancha Elaya, you know, 6-1 majority holding the subclassification where SC/ST is concerned. How do you think the Dalit community is going to view this?
You know, the judgment is very clear that within the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, in fact, across the country, there are scheduled caste and scheduled tribe people who were saying that our caste group has not been getting seats and jobs and so on and so forth. And particularly the whole case came in relation to Andhra Pradesh, the Madigas and Malas. And for 4 years it was implemented based on the commission recommendation, then the Supreme Court struck down. Now the question is, the 6-1 judgment clearly gave an order that the states have right to reserve for subcastes where there is injustice to them in the seats, jobs and so on and so forth. But at the same time, the Supreme Court also made it very clear that the states have to justify, the word justify, with empirical data that there is injustice to certain subcastes within a given state. Now this underlines caste census is absolutely necessary, because even in scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, there is no each caste data based on census. Now without census, even in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, where it was earlier implemented based on a commission recommendation called Ramchandra Rao Commission, 7% was given to Madigas, that is Chamas, and 6% to Malas and subgroups within that. Now this can be challenged based on the empirical data. Now how do they calculate? You know, so and so caste does not have enough representation in jobs, in seats and in the center. How does the center deal with this? Without caste census. Supreme Court, without stating, it underlined evidence with empirical data means only caste census now. That is one point is very clear. The second issue is, I don't think it is an order now. 6 judges on one side, 1 judge on one side, the judgment pronounced by Chief Justice is the main. Certainly, the opinions of judges on the creamy layer cannot be taken as a judgment by the state.
But it is but 4 judges. Kanchal, I'll bring in Mr. Farasat on this because it's interesting if you read the judgment copy, because Mr. Farasat, 4 of the judges have clearly stated as a directive.
You know, Preeti, you know, the point is,
let Mr. Elia complete and you come in after that. Go ahead, sir. Make your point. Make your point.
Then I'll just, for 30 seconds. So you're right, for the issue of creamy layer did not directly arise in this case. This was a case of subcategorization, correct? The creamy layer issue arose only as an academic issue in this matter. Therefore, it's possible for somebody to argue that the opinion of the 4 judges insofar as creamy layer is there, although they have very clearly expressed their view, is what we call in legal term obiter, which is not the ratio of a binding judgment, right? But that I don't think makes any difference to the legal position, for the reason, like I said, there's an earlier judgment of 5 judges which has unanimously held that in scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, that is a Jarnail Singh judgment, holds that for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe you can have creamy layer, right? So therefore there is nothing new to that extent. It's just that these judges after 4 years in today's judgment also say that we agree with that position. So the position of creamy layer in scheduled caste, scheduled tribes does not arise from today's judgment. It arises from an earlier unanimous 5-judge judgment. So that's the short point. The law is very clear as of today, unless reversed in the future. The law is clear that in scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, you should have creamy layer and exclude them. But the states have still not done it, because I think maybe for good reason, maybe there are
political reasons at that.
Yes. All
right. Okay. And Kanchal, that, you know, I'll come down to my question.
Apart from that, yeah, no, I agree with him. The critical point here is read Gawai's opinion very categorically. Gawai's opinion was agreed with the rest of the 3 on creamy layer. What Justice Gawai is saying is that there should be creamy layer workable form within the scheduled caste, but it should not be on the lines of OBCs. That is, financial category was given there. 8 lakhs in the beginning, later it was taken to 12 lakhs or something. Now that is not going to be issue at all before the states, because scheduled castes as a whole, both whether it is chamars or chatabs or malas or madigas or mahars or matangas in Maharashtra, all of them will be silent about it because there is not much scope in that. The critical issue is the first judgment. Now, how do they implement?
That's what,
level,
Kanchalaya, that's what prompts me to my second question, and I will bring in Rahul Ishwar just after that, is that doesn't it also, the first part of the judgment that you're hinting at right now, which is quota within quota, also open the door for politics? Because till now, leave alone a state or two, we had seen the SC/ST community as a homogenized group. And now, would you reckon there will be conflict at the back of this judgment?
Yeah. No, the question is, in fact, I was a supporter of Madiga movement since I know that within the administration in university that they are more in number, they were not getting as many as Malas were getting across the state, and therefore we supported that movement. Even now I support it, and I agree with the judgment spirit and the way it is pronounced. But the question is, now it is open for the whole SC/STs across the nation, and at the state level there is one method of implementation of this, and when it comes to UPSC examinations, how does the nation resolve the question of percentages for each subcaste within the scheduled caste without caste census even among scheduled castes, scheduled tribes? There is no caste sense.
Are we building to that now is the big question, but
that is the problem.
Right. Are we building to that? And I will come back to Mr. Farasat on it. But Rahul Ishwar, something which has been very much contended upon, especially politically, is to distinguish between social justice and economic justice, and thus comes the debate of the creamy layer, which will be contended with. Like Mr. Laya said, maybe not in this particular judgment as it's an observation, but it's been highly debated whether it's time to have, or exclude the creamy layer where it comes down to the reservation policy in the country.
Preeti ji, 92 years back, the very philosophy, the core of reservation was the Pune Pact, which was signed between Madan Mohan Malaviya from the caste Hindu side and Ambedkar ji on the other side, with Mahatma Gandhi playing the negotiation. This was the entire genesis of how the affirmative action and reservation came in, and Mahatma Gandhi told that point of time, I am ready to die for Hindu unity, and Hindus won't be divided unless over my dead body. So that evolved into various aspects of reservation, including SC/ST, OBC and the other reservation, and we all know that various political formations have played reservation to their own advantage by dividing it into various caste banks, caste-based vote banks, and playing one against the other. This is a common knowledge that no one can deny. There the questions, two questions also arises. One of economic justice. All those people from particular A community who has got the benefit of reservation, who have come forward in the families, shouldn't the other lesser privileged among their own scheduled caste and tribes get the benefit? Is it not a natural question to ask for? So naturally there should be a creamy layer concept, and that should be a welcome concept. It's a common understanding that there are people who are well off from backward communities who are doing much better, and the representation should go to the less privileged. I am from a Brahmin community. There are much more poor people in Brahmin community who doesn't get any support or help, and that's also a known thing. That's the reason why we need to recalibrate. Even Pujaniya Sarsang Chalak of RSS, Mohan Bhagawatji, they are never against reservation. At the same point of time, there is a nuanced view that comes. We need to harmonize the social justice and economic justice. This is not to say that reservation should be scrapped, but a more nuanced view of harmonizing the social and economic justice should be there. And creamy layer, identifying creamy layer and extending it to other people who have not got the benefit of reservation is the right way ahead. So I think that's a very good position that we should have. And at the end of the day,
but is it too soon? That's the question. Is it too soon, Rahul Ishwar, to take that stand, especially where culturally, socially, the fabric of our country, where we are right now? So that's a big question. But I'm going to just come back to you. And Mr. Farasad, I want to bring you back into this conversation, taking off from what Mr. Relaya had said and even what Rahul Iswar said. Forget about identifying the creamy layer. One of the biggest challenges right now will be to classify these diversions of subgroups within a group. And that, in fact, could actually lead to a larger debate of a caste census.
No, so you may do a caste census at a state level or a national level, but you can just do something much smaller for this. For instance, you can just do a socio-economic study of the scheduled caste of the state. What is their employment rate? Which caste have how much employment in the government services? What is the level of education? What is their level of economic well-being, right? These things can be done by any fact-finding commission which any state government can appoint, and they can restrict it only to a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, right? So a caste, to implement this judgment on the ground, states can do a more limited kind of a fact-finding exercise. It need not be a caste census per se. I mean, caste census is the flavor of the season, as it were, because politically being discussed today. So obviously, you know, every reservation judgment sort of feeds into it. But I don't think it's necessarily needed. States which are genuinely concerned can do it. And importantly, today the Supreme Court has said, like it was always said in matter of reservation, that you need empirical data to support it. So if you are going to create a subcategory for a particular group of scheduled castes, then you have to show that they are genuinely more backward than the other scheduled castes, right?
Okay, Kanchaya, do you agree with what Mr. Farasad said, that it could be a simpler exercise to identify? You don't really need a caste census, especially where there is intense politics behind the reservation, in our country.
I'll give you a concrete example. In the case of Andhra Pradesh, just before it was taken to the Supreme Court by Malas, 7% was given to Madigas, 6% for Malas, and other smaller untouchable castes, 1% in each category. Now, this was decided by a commission called Ramchandra Rao Commission. Now, what happens is, you have to calculate the number of people in the employment or in the university college seats based on the total population of that caste. See, that caste total population you should exactly know, otherwise it will go to lower high courts here. The Malas will say, no, we are not 6%, we are actually 8%, but they are showing us as 6%. Then the court will say, no, go for accurate empirical data. What does it mean? Justifiable empirical data. So the justifiability is a major problem.
Okay.
Secondly, in OBC case, in Andhra Pradesh, it was divided into 4 groups. But based on what? Rough estimation of castes. Now it doesn't work now. That is the problem.
Okay. Rahul Ishwar, you want to make a point? Come.
So it takes a lot of time to implement.
All right, which is fair fact. It will take a lot of time to implement, especially on how aggressive politics is behind the reservation policy in our country. Go ahead.
We discontinued our practice of enumerating caste even as early as 1931, which some of the states in the modern day may have done, is to dissuade the whole idea of casteism. India, as we know, is a land of various communities, but casteism should not tear us apart. That was the noble idea behind this, and people like Mahatma Gandhi and Ambedkar worked on it in a big way. We need to find that consensus, and they agreed. Even Mahatma Gandhi used to say that Ambedkar is not breaking our heart, is itself a part of self-restraint from Ambedkar. Our communities have been mistreated for centuries or thousands of years, as Mohan Bhagwatji said, but the way ahead is more integration. The way ahead is not dividing ourselves into more castes and sub-communities, but rather unifying as a community, and yet justice can be given to them. So I doubt whether this can be an argument.
But Rahul Ishwar, many would say it sounds great, but could be a utopian concept, especially in the times that we live in. But appreciate your submissions. Okay, Mr. Farasad wants to make a point, but I want to come down to that, because are we now, where the creamy layer is concerned, Mr. Farasad, could actually now move towards the legislature looking to make laws where the creamy layer is concerned?
See, theoretically it's possible. Constitutionally, the position now is clear that you can have creamy layers in scheduled castes. Earlier, the position pre-Jarnail Singh used to be that you can't. Creamy layer is a OBC concept alone. Now that's not the case. So theoretically, yes. Practically, I don't think so. I think we've just had an election in the context of reservation being a major issue. I don't see any political party touching that at all. I don't see any state government trying to move and identify creamy layers within scheduled caste. And I think
nobody's going to go there is what you're saying.
Reasons, I think there are good reasons. Like I said, I think representation of even scheduled caste generally is very poor today, even today in government service, at Secretary Government of India, Additional Secretary Government of India. Look at the numbers. Even so, who are you going to exclude? The point really is theoretically yes, but even those creamy layers, they don't really. It's not like the OBCs there.
And Mr. Ilaya, you leave alone the creamy layer as well, but at least now we are looking at it. Might be a landmark progressive judgment, but at least we are standing very far from it being applied to the SC/ST community. Do you agree?
No, I agree that, the judgment has come. It is a good thing to happen that. The only critical point is on the question of creamy layer. See, for example, one of the judges said that those who already reached IAS, IPS, central services level should be excluded.
Okay.
Now, creamy layer idea cannot be applied to mere positions. So, in the OBC case, it was fixed on the financial front only, economic gradation. Now, similarly, Supreme Court should have done something about it. I would have definitely agreed with that.
Okay.
But Supreme Court left it quite open as opinionated judgment. That is still is not going to happen.
Okay.
But on the question of caste census, what Rahul was saying is, see, caste census making itself does not make increase casteism. It is a kind of identity for transformation. So this identity of transformation does not disunite either religion or nation. This is a whole absolutely absurd argument. It is for transformation. Therefore, this judgment
Rahul wants to come.
Okay,
because you made a point on what his arguments were. Rahul, yes, come in quickly, sir. I need to close the bulletin.
I have a huge respect to Kancha, sir, but please remember the argument I raised was the argument of the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who in effect went to the fast, to stop communal award from happening, and he said, "I won't let this casteism triumph over the common Hindu unity." We concede that there has been historical injustices, but the way it is not dividing but more integrating.
Kanchala, 10 seconds, sir. I need to wrap the show. 10 seconds, quickly, sir. You wanted to come in.
No. See, nobody is saying that caste should not. Ambedkar himself said caste should be annihilated.
Right.
I have been writing tons and tons, caste should be annihilated. Who is saying caste should be there? But through the process, how do you bring out the lowest of the low, most untouchable, most deprived, with a method?
Rahul Ishwar agrees on that.
Supreme Court agreed.
He's nodded on that. He agrees on that.
Agreed.
So I'm going to just close the show or the debate at least on this. I appreciate all three of you for joining us. It's quota within quota, landmark, progressive, yes. Leave alone exclusion of creamy layer, even implementing the quota within quota in states where there is a fair amount of aggressive politics when it comes down to the reservation policy in our country. Will it happen anytime soon? Sadly, what it looks like, no. But let's quickly move on now on our next big story, and that entails a city that is fraying at the edges, and that happens to be the capital of the country, Delhi. Delhi's crumbling infrastructure. Rain brought the national capital on standstill as torrential rainfall battered the city on Wednesday night, leading to severe waterlogging and widespread disruptions. Infrastructure both on state and central levels was affected, where even the newly constructed Parliament building was leaking.
A few hours of rain and Delhi goes underwater. The capital was battered by the highest single-day rain in 14 years. A 23-year-old mother and her 3-year-old son lost their lives in a heavily waterlogged stretch, drowning in an open, overflowing drain in Delhi's Ghazipur. The mother and child were returning home when the 3-year-old fell into the drain. The child's mother Tanuja jumped in to save the child, resulting in the tragic drowning of both.
पर गवर्नमेंट ने यहाँ पे नाले खोल के रखे। आज मेरे बच्चे वाइफ गए, कल कोई और जाएगा। पहले ये चीज ठीक कराओ। आज मेरे गए, कल किसी और के जाएंगे। मैं तो बचा नहीं पाया। मैंने पुलिस को भी 2 घंटे से फोन कर रहा हूँ, कोई नहीं पहुंचा वहाँ पे।
The rain left most parts of the city waterlogged and severely affected traffic movement, with citizens left stranded for hours.
One of the most active clouds is being seen over the skies in not Delhi but across NCR. And hours of heavy downpour has resulted to waterlogging in several parts of Delhi.
Torrential rain on Wednesday also caused water to leak into the lobby of the newly inaugurated Parliament building. The opposition jabbed the centre over the new Sansad, which was built at a cost of 970 crore rupees, inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi last year.
ये तो लीक सरकार है, पेपर लीक, हर चीज लीक, अब भवन भी लीक। नीचे जब सीढ़ियों से पैर रखा, तो उसमें मैं कह सकता हूँ लगभग 1 फीट के आसपास पानी था।
पहली ही बारिश में देश का संसद भवन, जिसको बने अभी कुछ महीने हुआ है, वो लीक करने लगा। पहली ही बारिश में प्रभु श्री राम का मंदिर, उसका गर्भगृह वो लीक करने लगा, वहां पे पानी गिरने लगा। ये क्या हो रहा है इस देश के अंदर?
3 IAS aspirants had been killed just days ago in a flooded basement of a Delhi coaching center. Waterlogged Delhi and tragic deaths of citizens, highlighting crumbling infrastructure in the national capital. With Pankaj Jain and Ashutosh Mishra in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
The national capital washed out, even the newly constructed parliament, which has cost the citizens of this country 971 crore rupees, viewers, is leaking. Collateral in all the blame game are the citizens. Let's cut across to our panelists this evening. Dikshu Kukreja, urban planner; Ajay Alok, BJP spokesperson; Anmol Panwar, Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson. I would like to go to the urban planner first. Mr. Kukreja, one thing now it seems can be established, that the national capital cannot even absorb or take one heavy downpour.
Preeti, you're absolutely correct. And the images that one is seeing on the TV right now on your channel, it's become sort of a every year annual seasonal affair that we see. It's a pity that a couple of months back we were discussing on your channel the scarcity of water in the city, and today it's waterlogging that is causing a havoc in the city. So I think there is something systematically wrong in the way planning is being done, in the way projects are executed, and most importantly, the way things are maintained. We all understand that logically desilting of drains needs to happen at the right time before monsoons. And we all debate this every year, why it is not done. Similarly, roads full of potholes, open drains. You've just shared the story of a young mother and child drowning in it. How many more stories there must be of people who've suffered accidents, bikes getting tripped, people falling, associated diseases, dengue and others to follow. So it's not just the water logging and when the water recedes, but it's also the associated calamities that follow because of this problem. And you know, this is being discussed year after year, but no remedy is coming forward. The solutions are there. Our city's topography, by the way, from the Aravali Hills to the river Yamuna, we have a fantastic flow of water naturally created in this city. The subsoil conditions of our city are so good that water can percolate quickly. But what we are doing is concretizing everywhere. The soft soil is not being left anywhere. So this kind of urban development in the name of, development per se, or making it a developed nation is not the answer. The images we are seeing on your screen are not what a capital of a third largest economy, a nation which is becoming fast developed in the category of a developed country, Viksit Bharat. These are not the images we want to share. Well, so I think there needs to be, this needs to be looked at the systemic, political, as well as administrative level.
Well, it's capital punishment, and literally so for some of the citizens of the national capital. But cutting across to Anmol Panwar from the Aam Aadmi Party. Anmol Panwar, you know what I would reckon the citizens of this country are getting rather sick of is the blame game. Let's just take the example of the mother and the little child that drowned in a drain. yesterday. You say, which is the Aam Aadmi Party, it is the DDA's fault. The DDA says part of it is with the MCD. The BJP says you cannot govern anymore. You say all powers are literally with the BJP. Anmol Panwar, if you say you cannot sack an MCD employee because the powers lie, as per you, with the central government, if you say none of the bureaucracy actually listens to you and it is the BJP calling the shots, then why shouldn't just the citizens of the country, instead of, or Delhi, listening to these excuses, vote in the BJP?
The fact is that it might seem like accusations and counter accusations to you, but for us, it's a fight for the people of Delhi, because their rights have been snatched away by the central government. A country, a state is governed by the constitution, not by whims and fancies of anyone. The Honorable Supreme Court Constitution Bench, 5-judge Constitution Bench, unequivocally decreed. And let me quote from what they said. They said that the Legislative Assembly of Delhi embodies the principle of representative democracy. And Delhi Assembly is given powers to legislate, to represent the will of the people. And they further says that if the officers stop reporting to the ministers or do not abide by their directions, the principle of collective responsibility is effective. If services are excluded from legislative and executive domain, the minister would be excluded from controlling the civil servants who are to implement the executive decisions. And if the officers feel they are insulated from the control of government, it will dilute accountability and affect the governance. And this is what is happening today. The Lieutenant Governor, all the officials, whether from PWD, whether from MCD, whether from DJB, they report directly to the Lieutenant Governor. They didn't attend the meeting, which was called by the Honorable Delhi Minister, Mr. Saurabh Bhardwaj. 7 meetings were called since February 2024. An incorrect report was given on 24th of June, when the minister wrote to the Ministry of Home Affairs stating that the Chief Secretary, Mr. Naresh Kumar, is not providing the report, desilting report. And when it was verified by the residents, we got to know that the information was incorrect. Now they are directly responsible for betraying the trust of people of Delhi and not letting an elected government
Mr. Panwar,
work.
as I bring in Ajay Alok, I would reckon collectively...
I have one more point.
Quickly, sir.
Delhi's existing drainage system is 48 years old. It was devised in 1976 and it can handle around 50 mm of rainfall. The drainage system is not able to handle any intense rainfall. And it was way back in 2009 that the then LG, Mr. Tejinder Khanna, he directed the civic authorities to devise a plan. It was sent to it was in 2012, it was sent to the IIT and the report came in 2018. But that report was made keeping in mind the population of Delhi at that time, which was 60 lakh. And now we have more than 2.5 crore people living in Delhi.
All right, but Anmol Panwar, try giving this detailed explanation to the parents of the 3 children that drowned in a basement, or the husband and the family members of the woman and that young boy that drowned in a drain. Because ultimately, in this mudslinging and the slugfest between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party, the collective collateral is the citizens of the national capital. And Ajay Alok, you might not compare it to the ghastly visuals that are cutting across the country, but once again, the citizens of this country paid for the new spanking building, which costs 971 crores to the Indian Exchequer, and they behold monsoon session and this spanking new building is already leaking and flooding.
Well, they are making, the opposition does not is not left with anything. They are making mountain out of nothing. See, this new parliament building is an eco-friendly green parliament, and on the top of it, it's covered with various type of glass domes. Now with the intense heat few days back and a sudden rainfall, such a heavy rainfall, the adhesives over the glass, they just felt off, and that's why this leaking happened, and it was restored immediately. Now we took full responsibility. The Lok Sabha Sachivalaya, they issued a statement and CPWD corrected it. We took the responsibility. Yes, there was a leakage. We are not shifting or blaming games, though there was another leakage in Central Hall of the old Parliament in 2010, but let's not delve into that. Now coming to Delhi, I would like to ask my friend from Aam Aadmi Party, who is speaking truth, he should explain me. Because today at 11 o'clock in the morning, The mayor of MCD, who's from Aam Aadmi Party, she came out and gave a statement that 85% of the drainage was desilted and the whole drainage system was cleaned. Then, contrary, Mr. Saurabh Bhardwaj says nothing has been done. So, who is correcting whom and who is speaking the truth? And if the fact is that if they have done the cleaning of the drainage system, why not the drainage is not happening? This is the problem. Everything is done in the paper by this government. They don't do actually anything. And they fail to take responsibility. And they'll just come out with the excuses. हमारी तो कोई सुनता नहीं है जी. You remember Corona time? हमारे पास 6 घंटे का ऑक्सीजन बचा है जी. हमारी दिल्ली में अब ट्रक नहीं चलेगी जी. अस्पताल में कुछ होगा नहीं जी. These people are absolutely irresponsible. They don't know how to run a government. The chief minister languishing in jail along with 2 other ministers, and they talk of governance.
So why is
few
there?
Days back we had a scarcity of water.
Let's not talk over
and
each
that
other,
was,
Mr.
on that day,
allow him the time.
Not in between. Few days back we had a debate on this about the water scarcity. They were constantly blaming Haryana. Then they were asking from Himachal, but they were not taking the responsibility that the storage capacity of Delhi has gone down by minimum. Whose responsibility is this? For the last 9.5 years, you are in the power. Right now, you said 48 years the last drainage was done. You are in power for last 9.5 years. Delhi being a revenue plus state, why didn't you change the drainage when you had the plan from IT? And if the population has stolen from 60 lakhs to 2.5 crores, why didn't you initiate the planning then? What you were doing? Problem is your incapability. You are not capable to run a government. And that's the reason.
I'm going to cut across to the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, but Ajay Alok, I want to ask you a counter question. You bring around what happened in 2010. It was a building which was built by the Britishers, the old Parliament. 2010, and because the Parliament got flooded, the Central Hall, there was an adjournment motion, and it was discussed on the floor of the House on what went down in Parliament. Today, there was an adjournment motion, and what you're saying is it's a mountain of a molehill that is being created. Explain that to someone whose hard-earned money, tax money, which we pay a huge amount of tax on, has gone to build this building, which has gone down in leaks, and not just leaks, there was water accumulation and where the Makar Dwar of the new Parliament was concerned. So it's not just a few drops leaking because of a panel, glass panel, which wasn't working very well, or the adhesive had been washed out. There was also water logging on one of the main gates where the parliamentarians enter from. Why must I not take offense?
Yes, you're very much correct about that. What about the new parliament happened? I explained that it was glass domes leakage which was corrected. As far as the water logging goes down, in the other building of the parliament, now just now you heard from my Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson that our drainage system is 48 years old. Okay. And it's capable of taking only 50 mm of rain. Now, if Delhi is having that kind of a rain in less time, definitely there's going to be water logging.
Okay, Mr.
But
Pandra,
still, being a responsible government and being a part of custodian of the parliament, we restored it.
Preeti ji, I want to respond to Alok ji. First, he said that why didn't the plan was implemented? The plan was given in 2018 and we came in power in 2022. And the former Deputy CM of Delhi, Mr. Manish Sisodia, he directed the PWD, which is the nodal agency for preparing the drainage master plan. The city is divided into 3 basins. One is Najafgarh Basin, one is Barapula Basin, and one is Trans-Yamuna Basin. And the consultants have been engaged and will soon have a master plan with us.
God alone knows how soon that would be. I would have liked to get the urban town planner back into this discussion, but that's all the time I have for now. I apologize. We should have had a longer debate on the civic system of this city, but we're going to leave it at that. Thank you all for joining us.